There we go. Wait for that 10-second mark and make sure it's actually going to capture what I'm saying. Otherwise, I may sound really stupid for those who go back and watch this later. Hey, everybody. Welcome. I am Nathan P. Butler. This is the video series on YouTube that I sort of tongue-in-cheek refer to as the Star Wars Battlefront Livestream podcast. The rationale, again, for those who haven't been following it in the past with Battlefront 1 is that it is Battlefront. It is live streaming, and I call it a podcast not because it is a podcast in the traditional sense. It is not an MP3. It is not being released through our RSS feed. It is not available on iTunes, etc., etc. But podcasting in the sense that it's much more about the discussion, the interaction with the people in the chat, but also the guests that I happen to have on at any given time. So podcast in that sense, more vodcast, I guess, than a podcast. But this is what that is. We're back for Battlefront 2, and I'm actually currently working my way through a particular item. We can talk about some of the other stuff going on momentarily, but I'm slowly working my way through, not multiplayer, the timed challenge for minutes played as Heavy Trooper. I got 22 minutes left and a relatively short amount of time in which to do it, so I'm going to keep hammering away at the Heavy for another 20-some-odd minutes here. So we're going to jump into multiplayer, and I'm still getting a feel for the different Galactic Assault modes. I haven't even messed with Strike, Blast, or Starfighter Assault yet, which is odd because Starfighter Assault was my favorite from the beta. Hopefully this image is coming through a little bit clearer than before. I basically finally said screw it, and I'm leaving the window light, killed the side light, and took my desk lamp that's like on an arm and lifted it up so it just points this general direction. So hopefully, instead of me looking all washed out and red, it'll be at least a little bit more visually clear. I do apologize. Hey, Sean? I do apologize for those who were trying to tune in last night for the Battlefront 2 live stream. I did one 2 nights ago because Amazon delivered the game early, and I was able to spend some time playing it and kind of showing the different features and all. And the plan was to do one on launch night for the Elite Trooper Edition, but as you may have seen with the other video on the YouTube channel, I got into a wreck last night. I ran an errand to go get a pet prescription, and on the way back, I was sitting at a stop sign getting ready to turn, and the person who turned in front of me turned into someone, and those two cars both spun out, one of which slammed ass end into the front end of my vehicle. Which wound up... the car is probably total. I mean, pretty much everything in front of the front wheel well is just fucked. It's either squished down or it's squished back. It's screwed. But it looks like everybody who was involved, which is me in my car, a woman and 2 kids in the car that was in front of me that went backwards into me, and the 2 people who were in the other vehicle, the one that the lady's car hit. It seems like everybody was okay, so I'm kind of in that, you know what, screw it, it's just a car, we've got good insurance, which is a lesson learned after my wife's wreck a few years ago. So, you know what, this too shall pass. But it wound up being that even though I was uninjured, by the time I got back in last night and kind of got settled in, my wife had changed her plans from last night to maybe tonight. She's not even sure if she's still going to do what she was going to do. That it was just a night to stop, relax, unwind, just give it some time to calm down after the accident and all. So no launch day stream, even though that had been the intention. But thankfully, I guess Amazon worked out just right because I was able to show you some stuff the day before. So Sean, yes and no. So I don't know if I'm going to be doing it today. I probably will. I want to get this one challenge out of the way for the Heavy. And I actually, part of my way of unwinding last night was that I did play some more story, and I actually have some thoughts on how this game kind of sold us a bill of goods. It's a really good story. I really enjoy it, but it is not what it was purported to be. So I would be perfectly happy with jumping into just the next level as of the last live stream, even though I've already played it, so that those who are watching these to try to get a feel for the story could still do that. Because I don't want you to feel like you have to, because you're watching me play in a stream, that just because I happen to be able to jump ahead offline, that you have to miss part of the story because, hey, that jackass jumped ahead. So, yeah, I mean, I'd be perfectly happy to do it. I'm at the Jakku segment now. In terms of my actual progression, I've reached the Battle of Jakku a year after Endor, so about a year of story time has passed. Which means I'm probably 2/3 of the way, maybe 3/4 of the way through the story, I think. So, yeah. Kill assist. Oh, idiot! Don't throw it into... Not into that! I found that when I started playing, today, when I started playing, my aim wasn't so good with my, third-person view, my third-person vantage, but for some reason when I switched to first-person and got the hang of it again and switched back to third-person, I was better. I think part of it is that I'm expecting the heavy to kill faster than he does. And I'm not sure if that is something that he did in the beta, or if it's just me just not being used to the weapon yet, because I'm on the weapon that gets unlocked by the Elite Trooper Edition, not the base weapon, for what it's worth. Very cool. Very cool. So, you're talking about the NTSC PAL thing. So, what exactly is it, Mr. Car Productions Life? If I can call you Mr. What is it exactly that it is? Is it like a connection that goes just between the TV and the VCR, or is it something that you hook up to the computer and then it? I mean, I've heard of those. I've never actually like tried them out. But that would be good because I've got quite a few PAL copies of different releases. I mean, not a ton, but more than I've got for any other region other than the U.S. Thank you, Sean. Yeah, it's funny. That car had like 7 months left to pay on it, so we'll be continuing to pay on it, or at least paying it off with some of the insurance money while it's gone.
We've got this.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. VCR that does PAL and NTC. And then how does it, I'm curious if it, okay, cool. Trying to get myself like, what the heck? So, Rogers, right? So then, if it's gonna play both, I'm just kind of running here. If it's gonna play both, then, like, does it just output with the regular plugs? Because if it outputs with the regular plugs, then I would think that you could digitize and all that kind of stuff off of it as well, with one of the little USB digitizers like I've got. That may be worth looking into. Cool. Yeah, we had, my history with cars so far has been, at least the ones that I've owned, and not the ones that like my dad owned that I drove when I was in high school or college. But I had a Mustang that was paid off completely by the time it died, but it died in a wreck because my wife got, she was slowly coming around the corner on our old apartment complex, and somebody was coming around the opposite way, high as hell. I mean, the weed smoke coming out of this guy's car made it sound like Cheech and Chong were having a party with Jimi Hendrix in the car. But of course, because it was private property, the cops wouldn't cite either side as responsible, even though he was. So we had to use our insurance for it, and we replaced that car with a, God, what was it called? A Ford Freestyle. And apparently Ford Freestyles have a self-contained, very specific transmission that if it goes, you're completely screwed. And the transmission died 1 month after we bought it, on Christmas Day, as we were on the way back from a Christmas event at her brother's place. So then we replaced that car immediately with one that we've been... a 2010 Kia Rio regular. I had a 2013 Kia Rio 5 is the one that just got wrecked. But my wife's been driving that one, and we've been fortunate enough that the payments were like 6 years for like $70 a month or something because of how low the price was. And we're like, okay, we're just going to pay like $240 on it a month and just get that knocked out quickly. Because we were planning on spending about that much on a car payment for her anyway. So we lucked out in that one. And it looks like what's happening now, since it was not even remotely my fault, it was the lady's fault, apparently. I'm supposed to go and get the police report tomorrow, get all the insurance information off of that, talk to her insurance, but we learned our lesson after the first thing that happened, after that first wreck that totaled the Mustang, which was that we did that. We decided to do the Liberty Mutual better car replacement plan, which basically adds a little bit to your monthly premium, but not much. And the result is that if you're in a wreck, then they figure out what the value would be of a car that is 1 year. I want to do it. Come on, shoot the panther. They find the value of a car. Okay, now I want to leave it. You find a value of a car that's 1 year newer and 15,000 miles less on the odometer. Figure out what that is, and either they pay you that so that you can then replace the car, or if the other person's insurance is responsible and they give you an amount for a totaled car that's less than what that amount would be, then Liberty Mutual pays the difference. So we should be okay as far as being able to find a new car. I don't know if we're going to be able to, get away with not having any payments at all, but we should at least be able to kind of, do something. It's just a matter of getting all the paperwork going and all that kind of stuff. It also, what was I going to say? Oh, the irony, though, is that my birthday is in October, so I had just paid the state taxes for the license on that car like a month ago. And we had just paid the $200 to renew our year-long subscription to Sirius XM Radio for that car. Thankfully, the XM Radio subscription, I can still listen online, and then I can transfer it to a new radio, or I can transfer it and add it to my wife's subscription time if whatever new car we get doesn't have one of those radios in it. So I'm not.
The junkyard is fully secure.
You would think that I'd be totally freaked out, totally angry, and just in spaz mode, but honestly, it's as soon as it happened, my initial thing was, okay, I'm all right. This is just another thing to do. Oh crap! Now what do we do? As far as planning and problem solving. And then once I was sure that everybody was all right from the wreck, I was just you know what? This could have been a shit ton worse. So I'm just gonna go with it. I'm not gonna complain. I'm just gonna take it as it comes, get it done, because being upset about it, angry about it, throwing fits about it, I mean, it's like the other guy who was in the wreck, the guy who was in the other car, who immediately came out and almost was ready to punch this woman carrying 2 kids in the face. Nice, classy act. But he was very shaken that he, doing that, just, what good does it do to anybody, that kind of anger. So, let's see. So, Sean, I have not read Legends of Luke Skywalker. I now have 2 copies of it. I ordered one that arrived on launch day, and then 2 weeks later, after the fact, Disney Lucasfilm Press sent a review copy. So what I'll do is I'll read it, review it, and then we'll turn around and give one of those copies away through Star Wars Beyond the Films as a giveaway. Which reminds me, I actually need to draw a winner for Leia, Princess of Alderaan, and mail that out soon. Because we haven't yet. Everything's just been so busy. But yeah. Will recent scandals destroy Hollywood? I would hope, and he's asking me this, for those of you who are new to the stream at all, I teach social studies stuff, so politics and history and economics and all that kind of stuff are kind of in my wheelhouse. So sometimes we'll talk, if people just want to talk about something political or current event-wise, we'll just toss it up. Like I said, it's the Battlefront Livestream podcast videos, so basically it's all about the discussion. I honestly think that it's probably not going to destroy Hollywood, but I would see it's going to destroy some careers. But I would hope that it will, if not destroy, then at least mortally wound the culture of, oh, well, he's so powerful he can get away with it. Or she's so powerful she can get away with it. I think it was very timely that at the time that the idea of sexual assault and everything, and whether you should believe the accuser initially and all that kind of stuff, the irony of having Hillary Clinton saying everybody should be believed when she was the one out there in the 90s calling anybody who accused her husband nuts and sluts, but whatever. But just this idea that there's a discussion on it, but I found it very fitting that this was the week that Star Trek Discovery basically went into a post-rape trauma story about a male character having been assaulted by a female character. Granted, the female was a Klingon, but you don't see that a lot in storytelling, whereas it does happen in real life. So the idea that it kind of just brings things to light, I think there's always going to be a classic overcorrection in any scandal where we're probably going to see some false accusations just to like go after people's careers. But once things kind of calm and get back to an equilibrium, I'd like to think it'll make it Hollywood a safer place for people, especially young people and women, to work without being exploited. But destroy Hollywood? I don't think so, just because Hollywood is so not self-policing, self-protecting, so focused on self-defense and circling the wagons, that, yeah. I mean, the fact that it's become the scandal that it has is mind-boggling to me, because I figured that it would have just been more covered up. So, and Sean, thank you. Any particular favorites, like any particular favorite series? I know you're watching the live stream, but like from the Star Wars Home Video Library, like or the blog or anything. The European plug, but it comes with American adapter. That's cool. That is cool. Well, I mean, but at the same time, I mean, here's my thing about that sort of thing. There is a statute of limitations on prosecution for a lot of crimes, like even sexual-based offenses that are considered especially heinous, by the way. I'm sorry, I just remember how for a while there, every time we would be watching Law & Order SVU and they said that crimes are considered especially heinous, either me or my wife would say, "Ha, he said heinous," because we were trying to do the irony thing with, you know, people don't take this stuff seriously. Here's a joke that's completely not taking it seriously, kind of irony. But I mean, the statute of limitations for prosecution is gone, but there's still, to a degree, things that you could learn about a person's character. But of course, there is a difference between, you know, this guy was, you know, a stupid 15-year-old kid when he did something versus now he is a 60-year-old man. But that doesn't necessarily absolve, as long as we recognize that this was the person's character at the time. Maybe it has changed. Maybe. But at the time, this is something that was done. I mean, either way, it's inappropriate. But it also falls into the kind of stuff that we just need to be able to, you know, this is a terrible thing that we are bringing to light, but there are other terrible things that should probably be brought to light too. You know, we need to remember that it's the old thing about I think it was Gandhi. It was either Gandhi or Martin Luther King. One of them had the comment about "be the change you want to see in the world." That was Gandhi. I can't remember which of them said. I think it was Martin Luther King. "Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere," or something along those lines. So. That any kind of injustice should be dealt with. That shouldn't be, you know, oh, this person's too powerful. Let's see. Oh, very cool, Sean. Very cool. And I must say, the Kevin Spacey thing, because you know who that is that Kevin Spacey is being accused by of the assault when he was 14, right? That's the new science officer, use the spore drive guy on Discovery, who was one of the main stage and film actors in Rent. But he was younger at the time. As for how is it, you know, on a much lighter note, how is Discovery so far? It's very non-Trek, but it's also quite good. It's like, what if you took a story that didn't really feel like Trek, but used the Trek universe? What if you told not Babylon 5S story even, because that was DS9, right? But what if you took a sort of serialized, more serious sci-fi story like you would see on a new franchise just beginning these days, but instead gave it all the trappings of the Star Trek universe? I've really enjoyed it. It is very different, though. It's serialized difference. There are differences continuity-wise that are driving people nuts that I'm still kind of waiting to see explanations for. But I would also say that it's interesting that this is the first time really that we have had a Star Trek series that is not designed as an ensemble cast. Like, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, original series, even original animated series. Could you have told who the main character was? It might be like the captain, but if you had to say for each episode who is the main character, it would vary. Or it might be like a core three like the original series and then other characters around them. So it was still an ensemble cast, but really Michael Burnham is the main character of this series. Even to some degree, Lorca takes a backseat, though Lorca is freaking awesome, by the way. But I've loved that actor in just about everything he's done, even as the Grand Inquisitor. If you've never seen State Within, it's an awesome thriller that he's in, like a UK miniseries that he's in. Anyway, but yeah, I think it's been quite good. I really liked Orville. Orville is more classic Trek to me, with a little bit of funny. Right? It's more like one of the trials and tribulations kind of episodes, right? Where it's Trek, but it's also kind of playing homage to itself. But at the same time, it's trying to be cutesy and funny at times. But, you know, it lacks the sort of serious story overtone in the ongoing storylines that I like to see in more modern stuff, which I think is where Discovery's good. Here we go.
I'm ready to go.
Have I hit the 22 more minutes? No, I still have it for playing as the Heavy. Come on, I just want to finish the Heavy challenge so I can jump back to a campaign mission or play as anything other than Heavy. Alright. And Sean, you may have to tell you, SWL. I got the feeling that I just said something in SWL. I should immediately recognize what that is, and for some reason my brain is a blank. I don't think I had any head injury yesterday, but you never know. Well, I mean, yeah, Discovery looks way too advanced for its time period. It chronologically does not look like it should be in that part. It doesn't look... It should be even in the Kelvin universe, quite frankly. The Klingons don't look the same. The uniforms don't match the contemporary uniforms of the time, although there's a novel that tries to basically say that, well, the stuff you saw in The Cage and the stuff that you see in Discovery, well, they're contemporary at the same time, even though they look nothing alike and the ships look nothing alike. But we got to remember, Enterprise didn't really look like it was technologically and certainly visually set before the original series either. You know? Oh, start. Duh. Wow. Wow. I don't know my own stuff. And that may come back if we can get the Patreon up to a 500 a month target, and we're almost a fifth of the way there. Then that series will be back. Everybody defend JR, defend the Ewing. Get it? Wow, bad 80s joke. Have I been in a wreck like that before, or was this the first time? So, let's see.
What's the plan?
So, first vehicle I ever drove. 1976 Dodge Custom 150 pickup truck. Big green piece of crap, but made of real American steel that nothing could hurt. Little to nothing actually ever was able to damage it. The worst was a friend of mine, drove under it. He was behind me and making a stupid face at somebody in the high school parking lot and drove into the back of it. All it did was slide his car a little bit underneath it and bend its bumper in, and that was it. Was in nothing really except for a very small, like, just tap on the back and and because of that, me tapping the person in front of us. That really didn't do any damage when I had a Caprice Classic. Man, I should have kept that when I moved to Atlanta and sold it for $1 bajillion, but nope. I had not really understood hood life until then. Let's see, where's my challenge at? 42 minutes. Oh, no, that was 42 minutes. It's showing you before the match. It's not showing you the results after the match. So I may actually have what I need, I think. So let me check. Was in a Blazer that got driven off the road, or got like almost hit, so he had to take it off the road into a ditch, but that was fine. And then I had been in one act, like if you were talking like wrecks, aside from just like idiot lady backing into my door in the parking lot when I had the Mustang, when I wasn't even in the car, the only other time, and this is another one where we walked away, and I can't believe we walked away. I'm pulling out from down by our post office, and I need to turn left, and it's a 2-lane road going one way and then 2-lane going the other, and I'm trying to pull out, across, and over. Up. You have been every time I leave a mode, it tells me I've been disconnected for some reason. How much left? 7 more minutes as a heavy. Okay, we could do this. Oh, not campaign yet. Got to go to play as a heavy a little bit more. Yeah, so I'm trying to pull out, and I can't see around this MARTA, which is the public transportation bus, in the Atlanta area, that's in the closest lane going this way, and I'm trying to go out that way. So the fucking MARTA driver looks at me and goes, and waves me through, like looks in the mirror and waves me through like, it's okay, you can turn. And as soon as my nose gets past the edge of the MARTA bus, bam, pickup truck comes right into me, or I go right into it. The entire front of the Mustang was torn away. The front, the bumper and everything that attaches with it, but not like the engine and stuff, torn away, and the truck flipped repeatedly or rolled repeatedly. Guy inside it was a firefighter, walked away completely unscathed. Blows my mind. But otherwise, no. So all the real wrecks that I've been in have been in the Atlanta area, and it could be attributable to the fact that our traffic here sucks. But at the same time, or by the same token, I mean, I drove from like age 16 to 22 when I was in Evansville, Indiana, and then I spent the entire rest of my life, I'm 38 now, here in the Atlanta area. So the odds were that if something was going to happen, it would happen here. Starting as heavy in 6, 5. For those who are curious, what I've got here, I've got the improved combat shield and defender as my 2 cards. Basically, the cards, you know how the cards have the different levels based on the number of little colored dots, boxes at the top, 1 through 4 or whatever. That's what determines the level of your trooper. So, regardless of which cards you have selected or equipped, whichever ones you have actually unlocked that are sitting there in your library to choose from of your star cards, it counts up the number of little power markers on each of those. You know, 1 for common, 2 for uncommon, whatever. And that's how they get your rank of like 10 or 6 or whatever it is for your troopers. A lot of the stuff about this game that's confusing people is just being able to read the information, read the data that it's presenting. Yes, very scary. And at that point, I was not married to my wife or dating the person that's now my wife. I was with somebody who was not nearly as level-headed. So it was just, yeah, it was just a sort of a, how could you do that? Well, the MARTA bus driver waved me on. How could you trust the MARTA driver? Well, because I assumed, you know, that they were smart enough to look. Why were you, you know, everything is your fault. And granted, you know, I would be the first to say, yes, the actual accident was my fault legally from a right-of-way perspective. But screw that MARTA driver. You know? New trilogy Rian Johnson is doing, I don't know that I've seen anything else that Rian Johnson has done. I'm not sure I could tell you something else that he's done other than Last Jedi, so verdict is out. I'm kind of curious what it's going to be, but otherwise not. Have I missed Star Wars? Yes and no. Like, I've missed it in the sense that it gives me something to do with all those books that are sitting in the other room. But have I missed it in terms of, like, producing new episodes? Kind of. But they were just too much of a lightning rod at the time. I mean, you did almost anything at that time that had to do with Legends, and people would bitch. Do anything with canon, people would bitch. anything that distinguishes, people would bitch. Claim that you can like both, people would bitch. You know, I mean, I think I'm gonna turn my fan on real quick. I think after I got a death threat over the fact that how dare I turn that light off. After I got a death threat over basically how dare I be willing to like both Legends and canon, I said screw it. I don't need that crap. And it's made me a healthier person. Same kind of deal with I mean, I don't really respond to people on the Star Wars Beyond the Films Facebook page. Usually that's Mark now, because we still allow people over there with a little bit more leniency than I do on the timeline page. So there are people out there who just spout and just complete BS and can be very unpleasant to people based on whether they like one continuity or not. And I'm just like, I don't want to deal with that crap. I want this to still be a fun hobby, not something that stresses me or causes me to hate humanity. So just drop it. Went to Dolby Atmos UHD Blu-ray for The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi coming out. You got me. My guess would be that probably what's going to happen is kind of like what they did with Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, in that they will, when Last Jedi sees a home video release, they'll probably do a 4K version with it, and then we might slowly start to see them going backwards and giving us like Rogue One in 4K and such. Because there's a lot of people already now that claim Rogue One's in 4K on Netflix. No, it's not. Netflix can, depending on your system and everything, Netflix will upscale so that it works on your 4K TV. That does not mean that you are watching Rogue One in 4K, right? But yeah, I imagine it'll be one of those things where it'll be the newest film first, and then, or they'll give us both at once, like they did with the first two Planet of the Apes movies, where they put them into the pack together. Or hell, knowing what we know of home video companies, they'll give us the ability to buy The Last Jedi on DVD, Blu-ray and DVD, Blu-ray and 4K, 4K and Blu-ray and DVD, and maybe 3D Blu-ray, possibly. And then you could buy a 2-pack that has the other two in it, and they're going to call it a saga pack, even though it's not really a full saga of anything, like they did back in 2002. That kind of crap. It'll happen. And yeah, and I would totally, Kenny, I would totally add more UK releases and other releases to my book. For those who don't know, I wrote a book called A Saga on Home Video, A Fan's Guide to U.S. Star Wars Home Video Releases, which is over on Amazon, which is sort of a narrative tale and breakdown of all the different U.S. home video releases of the Star Wars films and TV series and such over the years. And there are little sidebars that talk about foreign releases when they're notable. But I don't feel like I'm an expert enough in all those releases to be able to really do a lot with them, you know? Like, I can talk about the ones that are neat, but I don't want to say these are all the ones that were there or something like that, because I don't think that I could competently do it. Centered, let me come back for that. This is Real Gamers by Loot. Yeah, Real Gamers by Loot Boxes. I've actually thought about it. I actually am not quite as anti-loot box with this game so far as I am with some other games, and I think it's because of being an economics teacher. The way that I look at it is a little bit different, which I can touch on in a moment, sure. Do I think that Trump would have been better than Hillary? I mean, I think we were screwed either way, right? Would you rather die by being shot in the head with a shotgun, or would you rather die by being shot in the head with a sniper rifle? You know what? Screw it. Both choices suck. Let's see. So, Center, is there a timeline placement of a piece of canon media I disagree with? Canon media. The problem with that is that there are so many things they haven't pinned down. But I think they've created a mess for themselves with Poe Dameron and Escape from Vodrin. So, Escape from Vodrin takes place sometime shortly before The Force Awakens, just like the Poe Dameron series does. And it follows this little group called J Squadron, which are like all teenagers, basically. But they interact with, apparently, Kare-kun and Snap Wexley. And in Escape from Vaudran, they talk about, I kid you not, they have this whole section where two of them are reminiscing about the secret wedding of Snap and Kare that J Squadron arranged so as not to inconvenience the leaders of the base on Dakar. Or Kadar, yeah, Dakar. And the key thing about it is that the food that they prepared makes people fart. So it was essentially the incredible farting wedding, and they spend like 2 pages reminiscing about how hilarious it was that they had this wedding where everybody was tooting their own horn, so to speak. It has to be read to be believed, because it's the most egregious fart humor in Star Wars since Phantom Menace. But in the newest arc of Poe Dameron, it certainly appears that they are on the outs and haven't even gotten married yet, and they're about to find Lor San Tekka presumably by the time that the series ends in just a few issues. So it sure appears to me that they've screwed up the interconnectivity of those two stories, and they're not going to make sense together just because of that asinine reference to the fart wedding. I would also say that I disagree with how loosely a lot of the placements are, where they're just saying, you know, it's between 2 movies when there's a 3-year gap in between them, and hey, it's just in there somewhere. But we don't have enough specifics to really complain too much, I don't think. Actually, wait, nope, niet. I need to see if I've actually got the thing or not, if I've got the thing marked off or not. You've said that, Exy. I don't know, it's that whole thing of their politics are... Well, no. Pence has politics. Trump has impulses. So, it's hard to say. What do I think? And if I missed a question, by the way, just... or if something zooms by, feel free to just mention it again. I'll try to respond to what I'm seeing. But it goes by kind of quickly. Oh, looks like I got it. Did I not? Because it's time challenges. Mother... I gotta play for 2 more minutes as a heavy. Fine. Let's do a strike. Which I actually haven't done since the game came out. So I think of Star Wars The Last Jedi, and what do I think that will... what do I think of Star Wars The Last Jedi, and how do you think that will fit in... and we don't know yet. But hopefully it won't be something that causes a lot of retcons to happen. Because that was what happened with the Lucasfilms, the prequels at least, and the Clone Wars film actually, was basically this idea of here, go play, make your own continuity and stuff. And then when Lucas made the films, which superseded everything else as G canon or T canon in the case of the Clone Wars film over the C canon of everything else, or almost everything else, that you ran into the whole issue of... they had to sort of manipulate C canon to match what was happening in G and T, which meant a lot of retcons. Whereas in this case, hopefully there won't be a need for that much, because hopefully they're keeping a tighter control over it. Though, we'll see. Ran into plenty of issues, just causing me to bang my head against the wall on some tales. Did I vote in the 2016 election for anyone at all? Yes, I voted McMillan. I think I voted McMillan. I voted Evan McMillan. Yeah, constitutional dude, who wasn't quite as crazy then as he became kind of unhinged after the fact. But I was more particular. Like, I wasn't even really concerned about that because he had no chance of winning, and I didn't want to vote for the other two. My main thing was I wanted to vote down ballot because there were some initiatives in our local area that I wanted to make sure to get a chance to vote on. So I was less about the individual people and more about the issues locally that came up. Do I know the full story yet? And you might have to repeat that question. Whoever said the thing about do you know the full story yet? If it's about that, I played about 2/3 or 3/4 of the story last night.
Package on the ground.
Let's see. I mean, it's not screwed up much. Canon's not screwed up much. It's just that it's not so much screwed up as they're not pinning stuff down, which is going to set the stage for presumably there being ample screw-ups in the future. Logan, do I think Disney has too tight of a grip on the canon? If anything, I think that...
Data package acquired.
well, okay, Disney doesn't have much of a grip. The story group has more of a grip. And does the story group have too much of a grip? I would argue the opposite, because what we're seeing is more and more, it's more just sort of somebody wants to write a story. They're like, yeah, let's do a story like this. And they're just sort of seeding in suggestions and answering questions the way they used to, the way that Leland Chi used to, rather than saying, this is where we're going, this is what needs to be done with this story, this is something that must be in this story to make it work. It's not as tightly controlled as they led us to believe originally, that they're not really acting like grand architects so much as a clearinghouse. And that's worrisome, honestly. Whoa! Let's see. I mean, Disney's doing the films, but they're still letting Lucasfilm kind of take the helm on that. And then Disney Lucasfilm Press puts out the young adult books and the younger reader books, but that's a publishing arm kind of thing. Okay, here we go. Retrieve the data from the Imperial base. Okay. Yes, sir. All right, so on the loot boxes thing, because it was asked about a little, or is commented on a little bit ago. So I'm an economics teacher, among other things that I teach, but that's one of my primary areas. And in fact, I was a supplemental instructor for economics at the college level while I was in college before I even started teaching high school. So, we're at a point now where AAA games cost way more to actually make than they used to, but the price per unit when you buy it, the $60 price point, hasn't changed in a while. That is still kind of the norm, and people really balk at the idea of paying more than that for a game because there is still a significant contingent of the gaming community, whether it's because of demographics or whatever, age especially, that looks at $60 and thinks $60 is still too much for a game. So you can't really raise the price of the games by themselves in order to make up for the fact that your costs are going through the frickin' roof when you're making a AAA title. So that funding has to come from somewhere. And for a while there it was DLC, because we want continued support, right? We want, more and more content. Well, they have to pay to get that content made, right? They're paying their employees, they're paying for the resources to do it, they're paying for the electricity for the building while they're working on it. I mean, they've got their overhead, whether we like the content they're putting out or not, and we want more and more and more for less, less, less. So if we're in a position where, something like Battlefront is going to give us our updates for free, the monetization has to come from somewhere. Used to be that the thing you would see a lot, go for the access codes, the thing you would see a lot is DLC. DLC that is in-depth costs quite a bit more to make than DLC that's sort of a Capcom thing of let's just make a bunch of character skins. So that's more cost-effective to do it that way than doing actual story content or something. A lot of people don't want to pay $10 to $15 for a piece of DLC. So they got to a point where they realized that people were basically, they were, for lack of a better term, they would sort of front-load DLC because they would be interested in the DLC and only want, and they'll buy the first couple, but by the time the later DLC came out, they had moved on to another game, so they started doing season passes, and the idea of pay up front, and then whether you ever use what you're entitled to or not later, the money is still there. So that funding is coming in, but even that is balking, especially after some season passes became ridiculously expensive, like for the original Battlefront, given the content that was later produced. So they have to monetize somehow beyond the base game's price. One way to do that is the Elite Trooper Edition that gives you early access and not just to some star cards, but early access to the game by a few days. And the other thing is microtransactions. And microtransactions seem to be the way that the industry is going. I think they're inoffensive as long as they are not game breaking. As long as even if it's pay to speed things up rather than pay to win, I still think that is okay. But it's nearing that line. If it's purely cosmetic stuff like emotes and whatnot, who cares, right? If you want to buy it, buy it. If you don't, whatever. Whereas with the way that this game is working, it speeds up. See, as soon as I left a match, it tells me I lost my connection. Now I can get my friggin' box, and I apparently have boxes for other ones too. Yay! 100 credits, that was it. But I still wanted to do it. Come on! Oh, it says rewarded. Okay, so I don't have to claim it. That's the one type I don't have to claim. That's weird. 100 crafting parts. Let's see, but yeah, so in this case, what it is it's giving you earlier access or faster access to crates, which means faster access to star cards, theoretically, which means faster upping of the levels of your characters, more crafting parts faster, and that sort of thing. Given that that allows you to customize your character, that is leaning towards pay to win, but I don't think that there is, at least not in the game so far, there aren't any balance-breaking abilities to the extent that if you have it and you paid for it, you have just paid for an extreme advantage over other players that now means you will win, they will lose. The balance is still pretty even, it seems like. So, I don't have a big issue with it yet, but we'll see. I'm actually thinking of getting some crates and opening them on the stream just to kind of see, you know, what are you getting with money's worth out of it. I actually have enough credits now to unlock Vader. Cool! Not that I will ever have enough battle points to probably play as Vader. So we got Vader. All right, so Boba Fett is already available. Bosk is already available. Chewbacca! What a Wookiee! Ba-ba-ba, is 10,000. We'll nod to clerks. Then we've got Darth Vader for 15K. We've got Palpatine for 10K. Han Solo already unlocked. Iden Versio for 5. Kylo Ren already unlocked. Lando already unlocked. Leia for 10. Luke for 15. Maul's already unlocked. Rey's already unlocked. Yoda's already unlocked. TIE Silencer. Notice there are 2 different Millennium Falcons, Han Solo and Chewbacca, or Chewbacca and Rey. The Scimitar, the Sith Infiltrator, Slave 1, Darth Vader's Advanced TIE, Luke's T-65, Poe's T-70, and then Yoda's Interceptor, which is... I just love the idea of Yoda's Interceptor. Though it doesn't quite look like it does in Clone Wars. In Clone Wars, it doesn't have the front parts. It's just the pod. But yes, now that I've got that, now I can jump back in. So if you were watching the original stream that I did 2 days ago when Amazon sent me the thing early, I did the prologue of the campaign. Now we're going to jump into the second level of the campaign. I'm already well past this because I played some last night after the car accident to clear my head. But I should be able to jump into whichever mission I like to see it. So that was the cleaner. The next mission is the Battle for Endor. And hopefully it won't have me replay anything that I've already done. But hey, I need to find the other collectibles for that one anyway, because there's like, what, 5 of them to find, and I found 1. So let's do it! And let's just, for now, we'll stick on Explorer. When I'm first playing, I don't mess around too much. You do unlock cards for Iden as you play. So I do have all but 1 of her cards at this point. Let's see. Let's do Survivalist, which is going to be a regeneration delay that's shorter than normal. Let's do... cooldown bonus. I think that's particularly necessary. I don't want to get rid of Scan, because I think Scan is awesome. But screams near Chewie in the trailer is a Porg. Let's see. Pulse Cannon. Let's see. I'm going to do something that replaces Pulse Cannon, probably, because I don't tend to use it. I don't actually like either of those all that much. No, I'm just going to go with the Detonite Charge, because I like being able to control when the explosive goes off. So, okay, cool. Weapons... I tend to like to run with the A280 CFE, mostly. Because it gives me a sort of a snipery type of thing. But actually, I've got a Pulse Cannon. Nah, I'll stick with it for now. Start mission. Okay. Let's see. Do I think Lucasfilm will allow EA to renew the Star Wars license after all the drama with this game? Probably. EA is one of the bigger companies. I think that it's more... It's a question of whether or not another company could do as well. And don't forget that BioWare and EA are still teamed up with Old Republic. EA's got a pretty good track record with Star Wars, despite all the hiccups, despite having the most downvoted Reddit thing whenever they gave the BS answer that caused them to eventually go, oh crap, we're going to take Vader's cost from 60,000 to 15,000. And I just realized that I went through that entire screen and didn't actually unlock Vader. Nice. So yeah, I would assume they'll extend the license. They usually extend licenses with their licensees unless something crazy, some big change is happening. Am I glad that Pablo told Guri about Panaka's Moff role in Legends? Or like seeing as Rebel? I think it works with Panaka the way that it played out in the Leia novel. I think it gives us an impactful holy crap kind of moment that shows us more about the nature of the warfare than if he had just been a rebel. And do I read Star Wars comics? Yes, all of them. In fact, I wrote one in 2004 for Dark Horse back when they had the license. I wrote for Star Wars Tales. And if you like following the Star Wars continuity, check out the Star Wars timeline. Go to StarWarsFanWorks.com/timeline, the most comprehensive Star Wars chronology available anywhere, which I've been doing for now 20 years. Anyway, Pete, you suck, says Garrick Versio. If you haven't read the Inferno Squad's book, you really, really should. It's quite good. And Target on Friday, I believe it's Friday, not already released, Target will be releasing a special variant cover version to celebrate the release of the game.
On a rebel recovery team, Admiral, but we're too late to capture the saboteurs.
What's the status of the Death Star shield generator?
Screwed. Totally screwed, sir.
There's no way to repair or reactivate.
Then our battle station is vulnerable. Eliminate the rebels and return to the Corvus.
The Corvus is their
The
Imperial
Emperor's
Raiders
plan
ship.
must not fail.
Yes, sir. Agent Hask with me. Agent Miko, cover us from here.
There we go. What if Fox owns all things Star Wars? You're going to have to elaborate there, Jacob, because since they don't, and it looks like Fox itself is about to possibly be bought by Disney.
Follow my lead.
Understood, Commander.
Okay, yeah. Your new loadout includes the E11. Okay, so interesting thing, you can always, and I like this, you can always hit the up button on the D-pad to see what your abilities are that are available. So what I've got, the Detonite Charge is actually a star card. It's going to be kind of like what Han Solo uses. It's just not as powerful. You throw out the explosive, it lands, you then hit the button again, it explodes. So it's kind of a timed, or not a timed thing, a manual thing. Scan is awesome. It scans the area, identifies enemies, flags their types. I love Scan. Really want that in the main game, but I don't have the card for it for anybody yet because I haven't opened any crates that you actually buy with credits yet. Pulse Cannon it's a lot really kind of like the Ion Cannon thing you use on Naboo in Galactic Assault. It's basically it's a long-range sniper-type rifle, but it charges up and then fires and does a significant amount of damage to vehicles. To other things too, but vehicles especially. And then Shock is actually because she's got the little robot, which is now hers, not Dell's, as in the novel, and it can shock and disable an enemy when it's powered up. So the only ones of those that are star cards is the Detonite thing, and that just replaces a regular impact grenade. You do have these boxes. So at different points, you can actually go into the box and you can switch out your loadout. And in fact, as you're playing, or when you're first playing through, usually getting to one of these boxes is when it'll tell you, hey, by the way, you've got a new star card or a new ability that's been unlocked recently. So now it's available to you. All right, the thing I love about this, though, oh, man, you ass, get the... I was about to say the thing that I love about being able to play the campaign here is that the campaign has stealth takedowns. And I was about to do one, but didn't realize that guy was still standing beside me. All right, and you're dead. Scan. We're just clearing out the area here. So this is the day of the Battle of Endor. There we go. There's a headshot. Took 2 tries. I haven't read Ashes of Jeddah yet. I've read the first issue. If the second issue is out today, I haven't read it yet. I wasn't really tracking what was being released today. I tend to just kind of grab whatever Comixology autofills for me and go from there. Boom.
It's over.
Since it appears you got plenty far in the campaign, what is your thought on the spoiler that happens less than 20 days post-Indoor? You're talking about what happens on Vardos, Iden's home planet? I'm kind of concerned because I don't want to... I mean, it says at the bottom, you know, potential spoilers. There are also places like this where you'll be able to stop and switch out your weapon if you want to. I don't want to, but you can. And it'll always be a specific weapon type instead of multiple. So, without spoiling it for anybody, I think that what happens on Vardos is...
Yes, Commander.
At least as far as Iden's character goes, and maybe even Del, was pretty predictable, especially after reading Inferno Squad. But I think that to some extent what happens at that point and afterwards undermines what they claimed this game's story was in all of their advertising and pre-release hype. I mean, I still really enjoy the story, but it was kind of a tried and true, oh, I would have expected that in any Star Wars story, but you told me this one was going to be different, and it wasn't. Hey, that guy looks exactly like the old bearded dude you could play as in the first Battlefront. Hey, stupid! Never mind. Good night. There's there we go. I was saying, there's got to still be some rebels. There's one downside of playing on the easiest mode so that I can just kind of go through the story. Is there's not a lot of challenge to it. I tended to die more for like when I'm playing as Lando at one point, you got to jump onto the top of a fallen AT-AT and then jump off of it to a platform, and I died like 4 times there, just landing in the wrong spot and falling through the geometry and dying. It's usually the platforming that kills me on this game. Eliminate! Eliminate! Which is funny because, you know, eliminate in... Oops. Forgot. Shorter range. Eliminate in medical terms also means taking a crap. So in essence, in this game, they're telling you to eliminate, and in the first Battlefront, EA basically eliminated, and we all paid $60 for it. I'm getting pretty good at those snapshot headshots, though, with this thing. Dang it. I'm assuming somewhere there is a challenge that has to do with headshots that I'm just racking them up on. But I love this gun for that very reason. I tend to be sort of a mid-range player. I tend to try to think more strategically from further back. But on this game, there are so many close quarters things, and I don't know the maps yet, that I'm tending to get, if I'm going to get killed on like multiplayer, I'm getting killed from like around a corner, usually. Like somebody, like a corner I didn't check, I didn't realize was there, and somebody comes around it without me noticing and kills me. You must die! Smack! I do like if you do a double, like a 2 in a row. Notice it does like a double melee. It does like a combo punch.
Regroup and prepare to move out.
Regrouping.
Time to regroup, guys. And she's still carrying the weapon that I didn't pick up. Don't!
Okay, those can't be all of them. Those rebel commanders must have already moved on.
We should too.
My condolences on Laurel, man.
Is there a shuttle there?
No, TIE fighters only.
Even better.
We should move carefully. We don't know how many rebels are out here.
No, we'll deal with them the same as the rest. Today we wipe out that scum once and for all.
Detective Lance, I thought you were a man of the law. I didn't hear her That's Impossible, but the subtitles say That's Impossible. Did you guys hear her That's Impossible?
Look alive, agents. We can grieve later. Right now we need to move.
On you, Commander.
I did notice, by the way, since I'm playing this on a we need to get to a landing platform to steal some get some TIE fighters. I did notice that I'm playing this on a PlayStation 4 Pro, and on both that and Xbox One S, if you're playing on a 4K television, make sure that if you have a, well, I mean, and otherwise, I guess, if you have a sound system that's like 5.1, 7.1, whatever, make sure that you're turning off whatever the auto processing is, or the lips won't match up on this game. Admiral Sloan gave the order. We saw that in a short story.
I will send you the rendezvous coordinates.
Yes, sir. We'll contact you when we reach the quarters.
I love how tightly woven this is with the rest of the canon. They do have a lot of really good
High Command overlooked
references.
something crucial again.
No, there has to be more to it. The rebels were outnumbered and outgunned.
It's simple. The Emperor underestimated the strength of our enemy, and we paid the price.
Commander,
So, foreshadowing then?
I know
And
Iden, but that sounded treasonous.
would we really have expected Iden to be expressing thoughts like that this early on
If it's the truth.
in the game? If we read Inferno Squad, yes. Otherwise, you're probably playing the game going, damn, that was fast. That she starts to have doubts.
Visual on the patrol.
We should slaughter them where they stand.
Right, whether it's weird that there's still people on Jeddah, I mean, they'd have to have some way to get off if they were going to leave. And a lot of the people probably didn't have the means or wherewithal to do so. As for how much time between the previous arc and the Jeddah one, I'm not sure. Because we aren't given any firm time references hardly ever in Marvel's post A New Hope comics at all.
It's what they deserved.
That's right, it's what they deserved.
I got eyes on a rebel ambush. We lost a shuttle and our men are overrun.
Keep scouting, Agent.
Unlike most games, these characters can sprint forever. On the other hand, their jumps are just like the first game and god-awful. So their jumps are basically worthless.
We have to help our troopers. Go. Stand your ground and return fire.
I'll show you guys that. This is that pulse cannon.
Empire is evacuating Endor. Push back these rebels.
And I missed her.
Understood, Commander. We're with you.
Damn, I'm trying to pop her in the... There! Die, lady. You do have that regenerating health, of course. And you don't take a ton of damage, especially in a starfighter. You don't take a ton of damage in the campaign on the easiest mode. Like I said, dying tends to be because of like bad platforming, or in my case, I did a lot of restarts because there are sections of the game that you can theoretically play through stealthily, and I would accidentally screw up the stealth part, and I wanted to see if I could get through it completely stealthy. Oh, I'm shooting a dead body. I need to shoot the buddy next door. What's up, bro? Who's peppering me with shots? It's funny because they call out heavies in the campaigns, like, enemy heavy! But I play as the heavy in multiplayer mostly so far, and it doesn't feel like I'm that much of a threat when I'm playing as a heavy. Ugh. Oh, it didn't kill this guy. I just shoot him in the arm a few dozen times.
Keep their heads down.
Bum, 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 bum. Come on! Stick your head up. Didn't need to stick your head up. Okay, so that little yellow marker, press triangle. I'm sending out the little droid to incapacitate the person. And then it comes back and attaches to my back again. Though I would love an explanation as to why Iden's carrying the droid, because usually, isn't it Del? I mean, I know Del maintains the droid, but didn't Del also tend to carry the droid? Oh, that didn't give me a better vantage point at all, like I thought it would. Oh, hey! Oh, we got a launcher! That is the other thing. Instead of picking up power-ups in the campaign, you can pick up something like that, which is like a rocket launcher, and you can use it, and it refreshes itself. Oh, are you already dead? Oh, no, you're not. You're just kind of chilling. What didn't I like about Phasma? It would be much easier to ask me what I did like about Phasma, because it would be a shorter answer, probably, because the Phasma novel was fucking awful. I'm just not a fan of
Time to keep moving.
Mad Max meets Star Wars. I'm not a fan of Primitive Tribe gets...
Point, Sergeant.
All the same, we're in your debt, Commander.
Primitive tribe gets technology kind of thing. Now, this is the other thing that gets me about the campaign. Sometimes they don't make clear what your next objective is or what direction to go in. It takes it a minute to actually tell you where to go. Because I'm trying to think if I need to go that way or this way. Maybe it's this way? But I thought it was the other way. Yeah, like, the icon to tell me where to go isn't showing up yet. At all. But okay, so what didn't I like about Phasma? I'm not into the whole Lord of the Flies kind of storytelling that they did. Maybe it's back this way? Yeah, I think it is back this way. That I'm supposed to go.
Commander, I'm hearing reports of enemy transport
Because it triggered the
landing
next...
across
There it frickin' is!
over this move.
We won't be here much longer.
Come into an open area with multiple directions out, and then just leave us sitting there not knowing which direction to go. Awesome. Whoa! U-wing. Oh, officers. Yeah, because it gives you a little tutorial thing at certain points in the missions. Basically telling you officers should be the first ones you kill. So, do my little... There's an officer, and there goes his head. What's up? There we go.
Rebel officer.
I keep forgetting that it doesn't go nearly as far as the thing I replaced with it. Okay, now I'm gonna get shot at. It also irked me that Phasma spends all this time on 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 9 years ago, but never tells you when the fucking present is. You have to guess on when the present is in that book to know when the heck it's placed. And the closest you can do to guessing it, really, is, aside from the fact that it's before The Force Awakens, is there's a reference... What's the one character's name? Civ? There's a reference to Civ saying that she and Phasma and Hux, Armitage Hux, are all approximately the same age. And we know the age of Civ within the story. But we still don't know, like, a birth date. And then we find out, yes, we actually do know a birth date because Pablo Hidalgo tweeted the age or the birth year or whatever of, I forget exactly how it was. It was like we knew Hux's or we knew Phasma's, or it had to do with, basically it all came down to a Pablo Hidalgo tweet to be able to figure out when Hux was born and when Civ was born and when Phasma was born, and by using that and extrapolating then from the age of Civ, you could figure out when the present was, and from that figure out when the past segments were. It was just a pain in the ass. But at least it had a way to sort of figure it out. We don't even have that with the Thrawn novel for the present part. Or, not the present part, the latter part. For the Empire! I have no emotes, so I'm just gonna say for the Empire.
The TIE fighters were on the top of the
You can see exotic worlds across the galaxy in the Empire. In the Empire. Love that Phineas and Ferb special. Mainly for the music, not even for the story. Let's see. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, it was like he's basically born right after Jedi or something, and therefore here's his age, and you can use that to extrapolate the age of the others, and blah blah blah. So you notice there, I used the rocket launcher, but it's not a one-time use. It does refresh. Let's use this bad boy because it'll take out a nice little chunk of that. Boom! Take out a chunk of the walker's health. And now I can use... I love the tree falling. Now I can use the rocket launcher again. What's up? Although, really, I should be shooting for the back of it because that's where it's most vulnerable. Boom. And no, I'm not controlling when this shoots. If I'm letting it charge all the way up, it just fires as soon as it's charged all the way up. So you gotta be pointing it where you want it to point. Ah, damn it. That was me, like a moron, not paying attention to what I was doing. Here, have a explosive. Boom!
Skywalker down. I repeat,
I don't know how blowing up its feet blew up its head, but boom! Maybe time to stop the feed and switch over. For those who don't know how I do this usually on a weekday, my online students tend to slow down significantly for about 3 or 4 until about 6:30 or 7, just depending, because of going home and eating and all that kind of stuff. But I still have a laptop sitting here on the table in front of me that you can't see, where I'm able to monitor the system. But even then, even if there's not a need to kind of stop for that, I may want to stop after this mission and start a new stream, just because sometimes the longer streams have issues maintaining the stream later. Hi! Pop! Open the door!
The platform is ours. Get to the lift. Maybe a...
That's another thing you'll tend to see in this is that there's a mission that's on Bespin, and there'll be times when you as Aiden walk into the elevator and the elevator door closes, and then magically it's you and Del both together in the elevator when it opens. Yeah, I thought this was going to be a cool sneaking section, but not so much when I first played this part. I will tell you that this is a very, except for some cliches, and there's a couple major cliches that come up, the banter in this game is quite well written. You don't get it quite as much now when they're sort of all business, but especially when you get a chance to play as Lando later, because the heroes will be thrown in as short little segments where you play as those heroes before you switch back to playing as Aiden. The segment, especially with Lando, is some of the funniest banter in Star Wars in a while. I mean, it's really well done. There we go. And I wouldn't say it's a timeline that sucks, it's just the ambiguity, you know? I mean, they're telling some good stuff and some stuff that's kind of meh. But they're just not willing to pin stuff down. They'll put it in a general era.
Agent Miko, that's your TIE fighter.
Why do all the rebel women seem like they're either wearing a ponytail or they're wearing their hair like Leia? Like, you don't wear your hair down in battle, I guess? Go, Del! Take the TIE fighter and get the hell out of here. You might be saying, wait a second, are they pilots? Yes. The beginning of, aside from the fact you're going to fly stuff in this game, the opening chapter of the Inferno Squad book actually takes place inside Aiden's TIE fighter during the Battle of Yavin. So if you haven't read the book, it's actually pretty good. And if you like the whole ambiguous morality of warfare kind of story, that is a really good book to pair with Rebel Rising. Both of which we've recently talked about on Star Wars Beyond the Films, which you can find at StarWarsReport.com if you're not blinded by a flash grenade. In which case you can't find it anywhere. Oh, shit! Fly under it. Who is still over... Oh, duh! Who is still over there, I ask, like an idiot, because I haven't bothered to use my little scanner.
Starfighter secured. See you up there, Agent.
And again, I don't like the way that the activation symbols work on this game. It's a small complaint, but get close to the TIE, you can't do shit. You must step back from the TIE so the little reticle would show up on the TIE, but be close enough that it then shows up instead for you above your targeting reticle, and then hold down the button and still barely see that it's activating with that little tiny, very thin, dotted yellow line. Small nitpick, but from a visual standpoint, that's rough. I only played as in a TIE fighter. Well, let me change it around, because I don't want to spoil anything. I have not played in an interceptor in the campaign. Put it this way.
Hard to believe this is all that's left.
Pretty awesome debris field. We're going to suck for indoor eventually. This is where I first started to really die, because I was constantly running into shit because the controls are a little bit different. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to jump out of this for a moment, get us back to the menu just for a moment, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the stream real quick, take about 5 minutes, use the restroom, get another drink, double check the system and everything, give YouTube time to start processing this one so it doesn't hit a point where the stream just dies because of the bottleneck that happens with YouTube sometimes. And then I'll start another stream here in just a few minutes. So it is about 5:43 right now. Figure I will start another stream by 5:50. That is Eastern time. So within about the next 7 minutes. That way you can still watch, still get your Battlefront goodness, and I'll jump back into the next story mission there for you guys to see that. But I do want to make sure the stream doesn't wind up croaking on us. So we'll be back very, very soon here within about the next 6 or 7 minutes with more Battlefront 2. Thanks for watching if you don't happen to rejoin us. Catch you in a moment.